Hi, in this tutorial we will understand what is PHP and why do we use it. So PHP stands for PHP Hypertext Preprocessor, and it is used for building dynamic websites. So there are two kinds of websites. First is static websites and another one is dynamic website. So talking about the static website, there is no concept of server-side calculation or processing in static websites. So there won't be any application logic and the website will be very simple. And so let's say you have hundreds of pages in the website, then you have to work on these pages individually by writing them or by typing or creating these HTML files individually. You can't really handle that in one go. While in dynamic websites, you don't really create pages manually because it's done dynamically by the PHP or any other server-side language. Every calculation or processing related to application logic happens at the server end. So as soon as a form is submitted, the processing happens in the back end, and all the processing whatsoever is related to application logic will happen at the server side by this dynamic language. So it can be either PHP or Perl or Python, and PHP facilitates the connection with database. So in case your application uses a database, then it will be handled by PHP. So PHP will get the data to the database and get the data from the database. So let's see how the static website and dynamic website looks like. So we are shown this screen. So if we are considering this website which does nothing, not even the form submission, then this can be an example of a static website. Or when we go to quiz, then it will open the quiz page, and also every page will have .html as its suffix. So but we don't see it here because it's a dynamic one, but assuming this is a static one, if it shows pages like this wherein we can just see the text and do nothing else, then it's a very well example of a static website. So we can see it, see a poll over here, but we can't really vote on it because this is a static website. Or even we can go to this link and it will take us to this page, and here we can enter the details, but we can't upload the resume or we can't really submit this, because as soon as we will click on submit, it will ask for an action file which will be a dynamic file or a PHP file. Basically that script of PHP or Python will run on server, so that makes it dynamic. So now talking about static website, we have seen that a static website will be the one which will be non-interactive, and if you want to create this kind of page, then we have to write this HTML code, HTML and CSS code, and for every page we have to do that. There is no other alternative when we are talking about static websites. We can't really create polls, as in we can create the UI, but we can't really vote on that, or we can't really even log in into this because this is the dynamic nature. Herein, whenever we will enter username and password, this login button will ask PHP to get the data to the database and compare the values of username and password with the values stored in the database, and if they matches, then it will allow the access, and if they don't, then the access will be denied. So this comes under dynamic nature. So considering this website as dynamic, first step would be to log in into this, and we can really, so in this we will be typing in the wrong password. So now we can see that sorry, unrecognized username or password, which means that the calculation was done in the backend and the resultant, since that was the wrong password, it didn't allow us. But if we will enter the right password, then according to its calculation it's right, and it will grant the access. So now we can see that we are into the admin panel, wherein we can just see different items. So one major difference in dynamic nature website and the static one is adding more and more content to the website. So in case it's a static website, you have to create a new HTML file and you have to enter the text, the data manually. And in this dynamic website, all you need to do is just go to the add content, or you can add the content through the admin panel, and wherein you can just go for creation of pages, and as soon as you will enter something, and you will just save this, then a new page will be generated. So you don't really go to HTML page and modify the code, but it happened through the database. So basically what happened was that the form which we submitted just moments ago, was the details were sent to the database and was stored there. And now when we are viewing this page, the data is fetched from the database by PHP. So now this is the dynamic nature. You can create n number of pages without worrying about HTML files. Like, you don't have to really go to each and every HTML file and modify them. You can just go and click on edit and modify it from here only. So we can see that we have added some kind of modifications to it, and now if you click on save, then the changes will be made in the database and it will be saved there. So now whenever that page will be fetched, it will show us the updated version of the file. So this is how dynamic website differs from the HTML, the static ones. So if we will want to, if you want to contact us, click on submit in contact us, then we can just type in something, and then if we will click on submit, then the form will be submitted. Happens through the PHP and MySQL. So now in this tutorial you have learned about what is PHP and what are the differences between static website and a dynamic website. Thank you for watching this tutorial.